Let me tell you a little bit about ImagineX. Now, ImagineX really was birthed when I went to Tanzania about 2 years ago. For the first time, it was my very first Africa trip ever since I left Africa. So it had been almost 20 years before I had gone to Africa. Very, very first time. Man, I was so surprised by so many different things. I remember we landed in Ethiopia, and man, I realized how much I was so whitewashed. Getting in on that airport in Ethiopia and seeing so many, like all the different facets of what is Africa. Seeing all the different people from across the continent or even across the world in that airport, I was so inspired. And I know this may sound crazy, but I started thinking to myself, oh my goodness. So this is what Africa really, really feels like, because, you grow up and you see all those documentaries of Africa and the narrative that Africa has been portrayed at. I'm actually realizing how much I'm saying so bear with me. This is my first episode and I'm gonna get better and better. You will not hear one single but let's continue. So I realized how much we had been, there was a narrative about Africa that I had seen for so long, up to a point, and I'm embarrassed to even say this right now, up to a point where I was like, wait, so you're telling me that the people who are the pilots of this plane are all Africans? Like, I know that sounds crazy and embarrassing, and I'm even embarrassed to say it, but I genuinely did ask that question, and I had to repent of even that, because that's ridiculous. And I know a lot of people in the diaspora do think like that at times, where you think, Africans, can't really do much, or that whole narrative that we see on TV is just poverty, lack and all of that. But I am telling you, Africa, I spoke to a friend of mine here in Adelaide who's running amazing projects in Africa. And they told me that they have traveled to over 30 countries. But the African countries are the most entrepreneurial countries in the world. And I had first-hand experience with that when I went there. That is what sparked ImagineX, because I went to Tanzania and I looked around. I'm like, man, this city is way more beautiful than my home city in Australia. And I would meet people, and they would introduce themselves, and you ask them, what do you do? They would say, I'm an entrepreneur. Like almost every single young person that I met, they would say, I'm an entrepreneur. And when when I went to Tanzania, it was originally for a little business venture that I was going to embark on in the real estate space. But then I'm like, I spoke to my PA at the time, and then I said, look, I'm here for real estate, but there is something here that I need to tap into, and it is these young people who are on fire for entrepreneurship and actually making a change in this country. And so I kind of not just put my real estate venture on hold, but I said I need to kind of plan something that will, even if I start doing this real estate thing, it will come out of that itself. So I decided to start ImagineX and be like, look, I need to create a community, because that's one thing that I saw that was missing. First of all, the awareness and the training. I would meet people and say, okay, what do you do? I'm an entrepreneur. Okay, what do you do? I run a little boutique shop, or I've got a some clothing thing here. I've got a little boutique pharmacy. There's little boutique hustles and whatever. So I'm like, okay, cool, that's amazing. But my understanding about entrepreneurship is that an entrepreneur, or anybody who wants to make real money, you need to solve a problem. You need to be an answer to a problem. When you do that, that's how you make the most money. But if you just want to continue to hustle and live day to day, just hustling, you can do that. But a real entrepreneur is somebody who solves an answer to a problem. And some of that requires training. Some of that requires inspiration. Some of that requires coaching. So I'm like, you know what? Let's start a community. Let's start a community where we'll get all of these people who are passionate about leadership and entrepreneurship. Let us inspire them. Let us train them. Let us coach them. And let's build community around them. And then build something with this. So that's what we did. And we are running seminars almost every single fortnight, bringing people in. And we're almost at the end point of launching our community platform that we've built. And so that's what ImagineX is really. And let me tell you something. And this is the very first episode, year 1. We haven't even been running for 2 months. But let me tell you what the end goal vision is. And I'll tell you why me sharing this with you matters. Because I could keep it to myself because it is a bold vision. Let me tell you what the vision is first. So the goal and the vision of ImagineX is to raise 1 million entrepreneurs and leaders across all of Africa by 2040. That is 15 years from now. That is what our vision is. And I know anybody who knows me, anybody who knows David Irambona knows that I'm a radical faith guy. I go for crazy goals. I go for crazy faith. And there's a reason to that. I could keep all of that to myself and be like, okay, that's my little internal thing. But let me tell you, I really do believe that this is possible. I really do believe that Africa is going to rise. I do believe that we're going to reach all of those people. There's ways to measure what that even means and what that even looks like. We've got plans and strategies and systems to kind of figure out what that even means. In the future episodes, we'll be able to kind of lay all that out for you. But that is my crazy goal. We want to raise 1 million. So I think I forgot what the numbers are. Let me actually have a look. What the population of Africa is. I should know this number on top of my head. There is, by mid 2025, there is 1.5 billion people in Africa. So, and let's say there was just 1 billion. 1 million is pretty much 1%. So we're hoping to reach 1% of the African population and train them. What that basically means, they're going to go through our program one way or another. That is what that basically means. So we're not necessarily creating 1 million millionaires and billionaires. We're going to inspire and raise people to believe again. We're going to inspire and raise people to dream and actually execute those dreams and actually change the narrative and the story of Africa. And so that's what that pretty much means. And I'm very, very excited. And we're going to be able to do it. We're going to be able to do it because you're watching this. We're going to be able to do it because I believe that the market is there and we just need to tap into that market. I do believe that, and also Africa has the highest percentage of young people as well. So that's another whole thing. So it's not just the little vision is not just me throwing a rock into the sea and seeing what happens. It's actual calculated. Those numbers are very calculated because I believe the market is there and the fire is there. Everybody's ready to go. And let me tell you why it's possible. There's so many reasons I could give you, but this is one of the reasons why I think it's possible. Compared to somewhere like Australia. It's possible in Africa because in general, a lot of people may have nothing to work with. And when you have nothing to work with, it's easier to have that entrepreneurial spirit because you have nothing to lose. Now in Australia, because you have everything, you've got all the support, you've got money, you've got, all of that. I'm not saying that every Australian has money, but I'm just saying that there are so many things that kind of support you, like Centrelink, and you get, there's so many benefits that the government can give you, even if you're struggling. That's what I mean by that. You've got everything, but it's harder to take risks when you got everything. But you have everything, but you think you got nothing to lose. I mean, you have everything, but you have everything, but you think you have nothing. So that's the issue with Australia and the Western culture. By the way, I'm talking to my African brothers and sisters, and those who are in the diaspora and those who are in the, in the international space. So I'm allowed to say these things, okay? And I do believe it's not about, I live in the West, so it's not about the West versus Africa. It's really about, that connection, but you got to just analyze these things. So the West have everything, but they think they have nothing. So when you have that kind of mindset, it's harder to take risks because you think that you have everything to lose. So you don't take risks. So that's the thing about Africa. So I think Africa is able to make it because almost every second person you would meet in anywhere in Africa would say, I want to give something a go. I want to give something a go. So I believe we can find 1 million people in Africa who we can train, who we can coach, and we can build a community around. So that's what Imagine X is.